welcome to week 2 of basically VBS at home. So this week we've been talking about, the story from this week was the Good Samaritan. And one of the things that between Miss April and Miss Kim and myself and even our teen helpers that were here helping decide things, one of the things about the Good Samaritan that is that in the end he does something for not anyone else's or not his own benefit, but it does make him happy in the end because he's able to help other people. And for us, the thing that actually came from this was rainbows. So we're going to be talking today about rainbows and what makes them and also how you can make one at home. So for my kids who've been in school or not in school lately, there's 2 words that I want to talk about today. The first one is the difference between opaque and transparent, and then we're also going to talk about refraction. So let's start with opaque versus transparent. Transparent is something that you can see all the way through, like this glass, right? It's completely transparent. Even the water is transparent. You can still see my hand on the other side of it. Things that would be opaque or is like a solid. This dry erase board, the curtains behind us, those things light does not travel through. So when we talk about light, we have to talk about the fact that there are different wavelengths that make this up. So if you remember from elementary, a rainbow's colors are Roy G. Biv: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Now each one of them travels at a different wavelength, which is why in one of the demonstrations that we're going to show you today is with a prism that we can actually take this and split the colors of light so that you can actually see that rainbow as it's coming from the white natural light that we have outside. And that will be an insert here of me outside to get that to work. The other thing that I want to talk about is refraction. Refraction is how something actually appears in something that's translucent, okay, or transparent. Now look at my straw, okay? It's a whole straw, but when I put it into my glass, it appears what, guys? To be broken. So this is because light is traveling through 2 different mediums. It's actually going through 3: the air, the glass, and the water. So even from the angle that I'm sitting at and from where you're sitting, you should actually see the straw in 2 different areas. So it actually goes in at one angle and then it's broken and then continues. The same thing with the arrow that's drawn, okay, that you should see behind the vase of water. Which direction is the arrow pointing? It's pointing towards me. Where? It's pointing towards me. But if I move my vase of water, you'll notice that it's actually pointing towards them. Cool, huh? Okay, so let's talk about what we're going to do to build our own rainbow. Now, there's a couple of things that you need to be aware of. Number 1 is that you're going to be using borax. Now, for my parents, borax is a detergent. It can be used, it's actually a really old detergent. It's usually found in a big green box. And we're going to be sending you home with just only a couple of ounces. So our small condiment cups that you had last week that had the grass seeds will have borax in it this week. Please do not confuse it with baking powder or baking soda or even flour. It's very toxic if it's ingested, and not just toxic to your kids. It can also be toxic to your animals. So be very, very careful with it. If you should spill any of it when you're making this, make sure that you clean it up completely. When you use your container for this entire experiment, make sure that you wash it after the fact with soap and water. Okay, so just be careful with it because we don't want to accidentally poison anybody. And it's a very household common product. Now for you parents, should you actually want to continue and you not have enough borax, if you want to go buy a bigger box, you can also make slime with this for your kids, and that'll be something fun that you can look up to do with them too. So let's get back to our making of a rainbow. So you're going to have in your packet, you're going to have several different pipe cleaners. You're going to have every color of the rainbows, including a black, because we need this to anchor. So you'll have black, like my yellow has disappeared because of the cat. No, we put it up here, sorry. Okay, so we have our black, we have indigo, blue, okay, green, the yellow that's up there at the moment, orange, and then a pink to represent our red. So there are several different steps that you're going to go to making this, but it's really, really easy. So you're going to use your black one as your base, and you're basically going to be making a semicircle. Attach one at one end, attach it at the other end, and you're building upon that. So I'm going to use my orange as my next one, and I'm just going to wrap it around. Oops. Follow my base that I've already have built, and attach on the other side. So mom and dad, you're going to want to help with this just because they can help be your, and it's just winding it around to make sure that it's nice and on top of each other, so they kind of build. And of course, then we're going to cut off the extra. I've done all of these in order, so if you want to write them down, you can, that Roy G. Biv, right? And we want to do it backwards because we want our rainbow to be in the colors that we would normally see. So red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet. Now, after we have all this done, you're going to easily take a pair of scissors, and it's just a wire that goes through the middle of that chenille. Okay, our little pipe cleaners. You're going to clip them off because we don't need all this extra. Now, the next thing that you're going to want to do, parents, before you start the next step, number one, you want to find in your home an everyday container. It could be a measuring cup, okay, as long as you have two, because one of them you're going to have to measure out that cup of water in. Or it could be anything like a sour cream container, any type of container. The whole idea, or even a regular bowl, you have a couple of different options. But first you want to find your container that it fits in. You want your rainbow to be able to not touch the sides. So this one's actually a little too narrow. You also don't want it to touch the bottom. So you're going to have to be really careful when you do this, because what we're going to do is we're going to form crystals. So this one actually is just pretty much perfect. Now, if one of my helpers will go around the side and go get our example that we made at home, please. Thank you. Now, you can leave this on, or you could also use another utensil such as a pencil to help support it, because this is going to get a little heavy. You can attach a piece of string if you have one. Thank you. In order to make sure that this will actually dangle, and you want to put this someplace where it's not going to be disturbed. So the next thing you need to do, and parents, this is where you have to come in for help again. You want to fill up your bowl with water that you have to where basically the entire chenille will be covered, especially the rainbow, not so much the bottom portion, but definitely the entire rainbow section. So fill it up with water where that will be covered at. Then pour the water back into your measuring cup, because you need to know how much water you have, because that's going to determine your ratio of how much borax to add, so that you saturate the solution, because we want this as completely full of borax molecules as possible. Once you have that done, okay, now you can either boil your water in a saucepan on the stove, or you can do like we do at home to make tea, which is if you have that container of water, because I have a big 4-cup measuring cup at home, I can just stick that in the microwave for about 5 minutes. It doesn't have to boil all the way, but it will get hot enough that this will work. Take your borax solution that's in your little condiment cup, pour that in. It should be 3 tablespoons per cup of water. So the shallower your dish, the less borax you're going to need. But the whole idea is that you pour it in a little bit at a time, stirring it while it's still hot until it's saturated. You know it's saturated when it quits dissolving. So you might actually end up with just a little bit of your borax in the very bottom. Pour that into your container and then insert your rainbow. Leave it for a couple of hours. You will, and you want it someplace where you and the kids are not going to touch it, or none of your animals will get to it either. So a nice solid surface. Don't put it in the middle of your area where you're going to be cooking, or in the middle of where kids are going to play, because you want it to actually form these cool crystals. After a couple of hours, and you notice that you think it's grown enough, you can carefully remove it from your bowl, put it onto a couple of paper towels to let it dry, and it will completely harden. Do not leave it overnight. Don't do that. You don't want the crystals to get out of control. However, after you've done that, make sure that you dump out your, make sure that you've washed everything completely with soap and water. So let me show you a finished product. This is one that we made at home out of 2 other paper cleaners. It's an angel, but notice the crystals that have grown on it. We left it in the borax solution for how long? Was it 4 hours? About 4 hours. Took it out, let it dry, and then we tried to make something else and put that into the solution. It really only works if it's hot. So that is my fair warning to you. It really does need to be warm in order for that to solidify and start to cool and grow these very awesome crystals. So this will make a beautiful crystal rainbow for you. So you can see a rainbow whenever you want it. You don't have to just wait for one to appear in the sky, because even though every one of us sees a different rainbow, okay, but you can then have something to smile at all the time. Thank you for visiting us this week, and we will see you again next week.